enforcement measures. These efforts included increased border patrols, the construction of additional barriers, and the deployment of advanced surveillance technologies to monitor and prevent illegal crossings. The concerted strategy appears to have significantly disrupted migration patterns in the region, contributing to the reduction in arrests and crossings. However, Mr. Speaker, while the administration views this as a success in border control, it has also led to ongoing debates about the broader impacts of migrant communities and the human rights concerns associated with such stringent enforcement measures. In partnership with Panama and Costa Rica, the U.S. has established agreements to temporarily detain deportees in these countries before they are returned to their home countries. Under these arrangements, migrants who are deported from the U.S. are often held in detention camps in Panama or Costa Rica as part of the deportation process. However, reports from detainees have highlighted concerning conditions in these camps. Migrants held in Panama, for example, have complained about harsh living conditions, limited freedoms, and restricted access to legal assistance. These complaints have raised concerns about the treatment of individuals awaiting deportation in these temporary detention facilities. The Ghana mission, Mr. Speaker, in Washington has reported that 2 Ghanaian nationals were recently deported to Costa Rica by ICE. The mission is working with the International Organization for Migration, IOM, for eventual transfer to Ghana. The involvement of these third-party countries in the deportation process reflects a broader U.S. strategy to manage its deportation efforts and control migration flows. Targeting of unaccompanied migrant children. A recent directive has instructed U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents to locate and deport unaccompanied migrant children who entered the U.S. without parental guardianship. This initiative targets over 600,000 unaccompanied minors who have entered the U.S. since 2019. The measures being implemented as part of this initiative include the use of DNA testing to verify familial relationships to ensure that children are returned to their families or home countries safely. However, the initiative has raised concerns regarding the potential removal of children who have been living in the U.S. for extended periods, particularly those residing in state shelters or with non-relative sponsors. Among those potentially affected are Ghanaian children. As at now, there are 4 children who are known to the Ghana mission who fall under this category. These children, like many others, may face the possibility of deportation if they are unable to prove familial connections or guardianship under the new ICE directive. The move has raised alarm within advocacy groups who have expressed concerns about the impact it may have on the safety and well-being of these vulnerable minors. While checks indicate that there have been no large-scale deportations of Ghanaian nationals, the immigration enforcement measures implemented by the Trump administration are having a significant impact on the Ghanaian community. One of the sources of confusion and concern has been reports that suggest that U.S. immigration officers are closely scrutinizing individuals with dual citizenship, particularly those who travel abroad using both their U.S. and Ghanaian passports. This has further heightened uncertainty within the Ghanaian community, as many individuals fear that their travel may lead to complications with immigration authorities. So, Mr. Speaker, currently, the mood within the Ghanaian community is one of fear and anxiety. Several leaders from various Ghanaian associations have expressed concerns about the growing apprehension among community members. There has been a noticeable decline in attendance at events with many individuals opting to avoid public gatherings to reduce the risk of encountering immigration enforcement. Similarly, some Ghanaian churches have reported a significant drop in participation, which they attribute to the strict immigration measures enforced by the Trump administration. Many community members are reportedly hesitant to engage in social or religious activities due to the ongoing fears surrounding their immigration status. This trend, Mr. Speaker, is expected to continue unless the Trump administration eases its hard stance on immigration, offering reassurance to immigrant communities. As long as these measures remain in place, the climate of fear and uncertainty is likely to persist, affecting not only the Ghanaian community, but also other immigrant populations across the U.S. These are the measures the Ministry of Foreign Affairs have taken so far. In response to the ongoing concerns about potential deportations, the Ministry has begun engaging with all relevant stakeholders to prepare for the possible deportation of Ghanaian nationals from the U.S. A key step in this process was the stakeholder meeting held on the 17th of February 2025. The meeting aimed to develop comprehensive preparatory measures in anticipation of potential deportations, evaluate vulnerabilities within the Ghanaian community, and establish necessary support mechanisms. One of the key outcomes of the meeting was the identification of resources needed to provide assistance to deported nationals, including transportation to their final destinations and any available reintegration programs. Additionally, the stakeholders discussed the importance of coordinating efforts between the ministry, local organizations, our international partners, to ensure that Ghanaian nationals who are deported are adequately supported upon their return to Ghana. The meeting also focused on the need to secure budgetary allocation to address these challenges and ensure that the ministry can provide the necessary resources for deportees, as well as address the broader humanitarian aspect of the deportation process. The ministry's proactive engagement with stakeholders reflects a commitment to minimizing the impact on affected individuals and ensuring that proper support systems are put in place for those who eventually return to Ghana. Institutions represented at the meeting were the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of the Interior, the National Security Secretariat, Research Department, the Ghana Immigration Service, the National Investigations Bureau, the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, the National Ambulance Service, the Department of Social Welfare, and Port Health. Now, Mr. Speaker, on the 21st of February 2025, I held a very constructive meeting with the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Her Excellency Virginia E. Palmer. The meeting sought broader cooperation and understanding of exactly what U.S. authorities were engaged in, and we also sought to ensure that the deportations are carried out in a very humane manner. It will be recalled that there have been times in recent years where nationals have been deported in conditions which were most appalling. For example, deporting people in chains, in handcuffs, chaining them to their seats as they are flown into our country. We have stated that we will want these matters to be an incident occurring in the past, and that we do not want them to recur. These deportations must be carried out in a humane manner. During the meeting, it was also emphasized that the affected Ghanaians do not have criminal records, and that any Ghanaian currently serving a jail term will not be deported until their sentence has been fully served. And we have received full assurances from the U.S. Ambassador in Accra on these matters. Updates from the Washington mission indicates as follows. Currently, there are 150 Ghanaians in detention across various centers in the US who are awaiting deportation for crimes such as rape, internet fraud, and illegal entry. None of the affected Ghanaians are in detention as we speak. 50 out of the 150 individuals have received final deportation orders from the courts. Their deportation is expected to take place by mid-year, mid-2025. The remaining 100 cases are either under appeal or have been dismissed. Representations have been made to U.S. authorities on behalf of one Ghanaian on the grounds of ill health, and he has been released to seek medical care. On the 20th of December 2024, our embassy in Washington was informed of another one Ghanaian with a medical condition who requested expedited removal as his condition was not improving with the treatment he was receiving in detention. ICE was promptly notified and the individual was processed for removal, departing the US on the 30th of January 2025. So that individual is now within our jurisdiction. 3 Ghanaians have also been processed and are scheduled to depart from the United States on commercial flights on the 19th of March 2025, the 28th of March 2025, and 1st April 2025, respectively. 10 Ghanaians have also been interviewed by the embassy to verify their nationalities and ensure that they have received a fair hearing. They are now awaiting the Department of Homeland Security to purchase their flight tickets before their travel documents for their deportation can be issued. The Ghana Embassy in Washington, in collaboration with Ghanaian immigration attorneys in the US, have been organizing virtual town hall meetings to offer legal guidance and support to nationals facing immigration challenges. Upon the issuance of final removal orders, the individuals' names will be forwarded to the ministry for further processing. It should be noted that the aforementioned cases existed prior to President Trump's assumption of office, with the exception of 2 Ghanaians who were deported to Costa Rica, as outlined in the actions taken by the U.S. authorities. In line with the ministry's established practices and in collaboration with the relevant authorities, arrangements will be made to ensure the reception of our compatriots upon their arrival in Ghana. This will include health screening, psychological support, assistance with specific needs, and transportation to their final destination. Reintegration. The ministry is in discussion with NADMO and other partners, including the International Organization for Migration, to extend support in reintegration and providing additional sources of livelihood to our compatriots upon arrival. Options include arranging skills training, microfinancing opportunities, and psychological support to help individuals reintegrate into the society and rebuild their livelihoods. Additionally, we will work with local authorities and communities to ensure that those returning are supported in their readmission into the society to enable them contribute to their communities. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, the ministry continues to closely monitor developments related to the potential deportation of Ghanaian nationals from the U.S. to inform further actions. This ongoing monitoring will allow the ministry to stay updated on any changes in immigration policies, enforcement practices, or shifts in the situation that may affect the Ghanaian community. The operationalization of the Consular Fund, as approved by Cabinet, will be critical in supporting our affected compatriots returning home. It is anticipated that the ministry's budget, which is before this August House and awaiting approval, will receive your kind approval of the $2 million we have allocated to operationalize the Consular Fund. Mr. Speaker, based on these developments, the ministry will assess the need for additional measures, resources, or interventions to support affected individuals. By staying proactive and responsive, the ministry aims to ensure that Ghanaian nationals are well supported throughout this process, whether through legal assistance, reintegration programs, or other necessary forms of aid. Further actions will be determined in coordination with all stakeholders. But the message we want to send to our compatriots very clearly is that they are not alone in these difficult times. Their government and the people in Parliament will make sure that their needs, their consular needs, are supported. And Mr. Speaker, we will continue to do all we can to make sure that we are with them throughout these processes until they arrive and they are fully reintegrated in our communities. This is the update on the situation involving the deportation, the potential deportation of some 150 Ghanaians from the United States of America. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, that's a statement from the Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs. I will therefore open the floor for comment. I recognize Honourable Patrick Yabuama.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would want to cut the Minister's attention, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Minister, if you go to the website of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, Enforcement and Removal Operations, ERO, November 2024, you realize that there's a table that the ICE or the U.S. agencies put out, which has listed all the countries and the persons to be deported. On that table, Ghana has about 3,228 of our nationals listed to be repatriated or deported. In your statement, you mentioned about 150 or so, 50 of whom have gotten final deportation orders from the U.S. Institution. So I would want to seek further clarification from you on this one. Secondly, I listed the budget and you came at the end of your statement to talk about a $2 million consular support fund for its operationalization. That I will not belabor that. But with your stakeholder engagement, I also realized you left out the engagement with the IOM. You listed a host of institutions, RD, the ministry itself, and other institutions. But I realized you didn't engage the IOM, which is very important in these matters. And your engagement with the U.S. ambassador is also very important. Thirdly, you mentioned that 3 people are to buy their own tickets and fly down as per the U.S. requirements, and also 10 are being interviewed. The person or those who have already been deported, what has been the ministry's engagement? Because at the tail end of your presentation, you spoke about reintegration. What has been some of the follow-ups? Has the ministry gotten any response from this person ever since he or she got back into the country? Those are some of the preliminary matters I would want you to address. Thank you.
Yes. Honorable Xavier Soso.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to commend the Minister for Foreign Affairs for this very detailed briefing of the House, and also to commend the ministry for the proactive measures that the ministry is taking in respect of these compatriots. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, going through the process of deportation obviously will be a very traumatizing situation. And the least we can do as a country and as leaders of this country is to be available and provide support and assistance to these compatriots who unfortunately find themselves in this space. And I'm really excited, particularly about the preparedness to receive these people who are already received their deportation orders. And I would want to urge this House that when that time comes, I think the Committee on Foreign Affairs and the leadership of this House should also be very interested in how we receive these people and how we assist them to integrate. And we all know that immigration and migration is a fact of life. And many of these compatriots who find themselves on the other side went with really good intentions, sometimes just to find greener pastures and so on and so forth. So if they find themselves in this unfortunate situation, then the state must indeed protect and support them. And I just want to commend the ministry and their various agencies for what they are doing, getting in touch with them, and ensuring that when they come back, we are even preparing to get them counselors that can counsel them and properly integrate them into the society. I believe that this is a caring ministry, and we need to commend the minister for that. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Let me give the floor to the lady.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I just want to make a comment and have a couple of questions. We know that the United States of America has long been a beacon of hope to a lot of people across all over the world, Ghana included. So we do have a lot of Ghanaians over there. Some may have overstayed their visa, gone through other means, which is why they're being deported. But one thing for sure is, and I'm sure the minister who probably has done the research will agree, if you do a profile of the Ghanaians who are being deported, probably they don't have criminal records. If you have maybe one or two, maybe traffic tickets or something, but a large number of them, you find that they don't have criminal records. They're there, they're living there responsibly, they work, and they're basically abiding people over there, but for their visa overstay and their immigration problem. So I'm glad to hear that the minister said he's basically negotiated with the United States to not have them be brought over in handcuffs, because they're not prisoners, and they're not prisoners of war, and they're certainly not slaves to be brought back in shackles. So I'm really glad to hear that. Another important thing that I'd like some clarification on is reintegration, because reintegration is extremely, extremely important and critical for the Ghanaian deportees coming back. Most of them have left Ghana for years, probably decades, and they may not even know their way around Accra. Accra has changed. If they've not been here, which they haven't, because there's no way, they didn't have their papers over there, they wouldn't have been able to travel back to Ghana for years. So they will even be lost in Accra, let alone find their way to their village or their hometown. Secondly, this is very traumatic. It's a devastating experience for each one of them, and I can't even imagine what it's like for the children who are involved. So we really must have reintegration action. Aside from the long term, we must have a long-term reintegration strategy, because it's not just going to be 150. Trust me, with the way Trump is going, it's not going to be just 150 who are going to be deported. There are probably going to be thousands of people who are going to be deported, workers, and there'll be more. So I know that the IOM funding in Ghana has probably been hit as well. So we need to find that, because normally I believe that they would have supported the reintegration. So my question is, will the Ghana government, provide funding for reintegration of these deportees? Because it's critical in terms of the economic hardship. They're going to face economic hardship. They'll come, they won't have jobs. And they will not have any money on them. Because when they are picked up by ICE, they are not allowed to go home. They're not allowed to go to their bank account to withdraw any money that they've saved from the work that they're doing. They're coming with nothing, with no clothes on. Their only clothes on their back is what they're probably coming with. So we really have to make sure that we help them with the economic challenges they're going to face, and the stigma, because there's a stigma, unfortunately, in Ghana when people are deported. It's like you failed over there. And it's not about failure for these people, because if you go into their profile, which I hope the ministry will do, you find that they were responsible people over there. Some of them probably even have mortgages over there where they bought property, they have kids in school, some of them even pay taxes. You'll be surprised, okay? So they're not criminals and there's no failure about this. The only thing is that they went over there in search of whatever hope